Let's do it old school.
I made you sound beat.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready for love, 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 get ready for you, get ready for me. Get ready for me, get ready for you, get ready for us to live out our dreams, finally coming true. I've been so busy, waiting for me. Now the time is here, ready for you, and I'm ready for you. I'm ready for love, I'm ready for you, I'm ready for me, I'm ready for we, I'm ready for you, I'm ready for us, I'm ready. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back.
Good evening, everyone.
We are back tonight to continue our discussion on male patriarchy. Why can't we all just get along? Keeping issues that keep men and women at odds. We want to continue our discussion. We hope that you will tell somebody to come and join us live, as we are live with the ladies. My co-hosts, Michelle Brown and Dion McNair.
Hello,
We are here to share with you our thoughts, opinions, concerns on the issues of male patriarchy and relationships and how they relate to how we get along as men and women. Hey, girls.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank y'all for coming in. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Michelle, you want to greet the peoples?
Hi, everybody. I saw a couple early birds jump in. Hello, Christy. Hello, Vanessa Gordon. Yolanda Rosia. Lolita Star. Why am I getting that? Lolita Star. Terry Cousin. Sherry Katrina Dye. And I said Vanessa Gordon and Yolanda Rosia. So we have some tell a friend to come join us in our discussion. We're excited to get it going again.
Yes, and before we get it going, I have a clip that I wanted to share with everyone, and it just gives us a little bit of a background on where we were going and why we came up with this topic. Of course, we talked about patriarchy last time and how the decisions that men make affect our lives. Decisions like Roe versus Wade, and how those things have critical consequences for women, and they don't just extend to things like Roe versus Wade, but they also have critical I'm sorry, what did I say? Critical consequences.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm all stuffy now. I've been fine all day, now I'm stuffy. But they have critical consequences in every area of our lives, relationships, jobs. And we wanted to hear or show you what the men are saying. And we'll have our little rebuttal to what they're saying, whether you agree with what they're saying or not. You could just chime in, put your questions and comments in, and we'll discuss. I'm new to working the technology, so I hope you can see.
Yeah, bear with us.
You can see it? Can you see him?
See what?
the clips that I'm have?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
How about now?
No, we don't see anything.
I don't see it.
Are they video clips?
Yeah, it's a video clip.
You might have to share it.
I did. I shared my screen. Oh, duh. Add it.
There we
That
go.
would be good.
There we go.
All right, here we go. There we go. There we go. Our first nitwit.
You gotta be a great cook. You gotta be great at it. You gotta, your stuff gotta be tight and right. Half of y'all don't know how to do it.
Oh.
Y'all need to go back to the old days. Hey fellas, if you go in the girl in the girl bathroom and in the shower, she don't have that enema bag. I don't have too much fun. If she don't have that bag in there, what? Epsom salt, bring it back. They around here going to get surgery trying to tighten their thing up. Why people don't do that? Why people don't get surgeries to tighten the stuff up? Why everybody they want to get this surgery, the butt surgery, take a rib out. They going on Ozempic, weight, but ain't nobody trying to tighten up the stuff. They ain't have the grip. Why y'all ain't trying to tighten the stuff up?
Okay, before we even go to the next clip, guys.
Come on now.
Tell me what you're thinking. What we thinking?
Well, I'm thinking grow up at this point. Honestly, I think he's still trying to stay relevant with all the shock factor. Grow up. That's all I have to say about that. Just even considering the fact that he thought it wasn't even necessary to make a video like that.
Right.
Was ridiculous.
My take on it is, what do you know about anything when it comes to a woman's hygiene and a woman's body, number one? I just think that, that's how, a lot of men see women, right? He telling us to tighten up and all this stuff. And no one's saying, it's just outrageous to me that some people were agreeing with him.
Yeah.
So the first thing that was outrageous to me, because I'm always going to the factual side. And the factual side is women should not even be douching. So it's obvious he don't even know what the hell he's talking about.
Correct.
So that's my point when it comes to men sometimes, is they step into this arena of trying to control and guide women, even as far as women's health, and they don't know the first thing about women or women's health. And that's why I felt like it was important for us to have this discussion. And another reason I always like to listen, like some people be like, well, why even listen to that? I like to know what men think.
That's right.
Whether it's truthful or not, because I have a few clips to share that are very good, that men speak of women in very good ways. But I like to know what men think, because if you don't know what they think, you don't know how to kind of traverse a relationship with them, because you don't know how to even come to the table and understand them. And that's what we're looking for, is understanding. How do we understand them? How do they understand us? And what could we do to make it clearer, to make the understanding more relevant and more truthful, and not have all of these myths about what we think a woman is and what a woman should be, or what a man is and what a man should be, and all of these ideas around male masculinity and women's femininity, living in the feminine, living in the masculine. You listen to all of this stuff out there and it'll make your mind crazy. Toxic masculinity. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Michelle,
I'm sorry,
I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry. I don't see any of the comments. So if you want to just put a comment up. I don't know if you can do that or not anymore. But if you want to read a comment out that you thought was interesting, just to.
Go ahead,
There,
Michelle.
there have actually been a few good ones. After you showed the clip, Vanessa Gordon said foolishness. I call that shenanigans.
Yes.
Sherry Katrina Dye said pure ignorance. And Robert Smith said, why are people even entertaining that old fool? Exactly, Michelle, grow up.
Well, Robin, I hope I answered your question.
And then Vanessa said he doesn't have a vagina, so he can't speak on it.
That's right.
Exactly.
And then Robin also said exactly, they only know what they hear, so ignorant.
Right.
Yolanda Rosia said we have to want to understand each other.
That's true.
Exactly.
Oh, Vanessa, I stand corrected. She doesn't call it shenanigans, she calls it shenanigans. Date wants to know how old is he? He like 130.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Michelle.
Too old to be
Yes.
running. He's going to be checking out nursing homes, worrying about what kind of apparatuses people got in their bathroom. Go somewhere. And I think first of all, in all honesty, I feel like relationships have just gone awry. And one of the things that I've been learning, and I think everybody has, right? I think everybody has, we are absolutely living in a different time.
Oh, yes.
Period. Gone are the days when you had those couples that got together and stayed together forever, no matter what. You know, I don't know that I 100% agree with that, but there was something to be said about the loyalty that was in those relationships. I'm not saying that's for everybody. I'm just saying it was what it was. Now I feel like we living in a time where it's like people are getting married for all the wrong reasons. Half the time they don't even know each other. And that's the key to Yolanda's point. Like, we don't take the time to really get to know each other. And anybody who's ever been married, I believe, would attest. If I have any married women on the line, check me if I'm wrong. Marriage is not for the faint of heart. Like, it's a daily. I never understood when, people would say, marriage is hard work. I never understood that because, we come from the perception of, oh no, it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that. And, we're going to be blissful, happy every day. And then you roll over one day after you've been married for a minute and you be thinking to yourself, how could I stab him in his throat and get away with it?
It's true, but I think, Michelle, to piggyback off of that, I think any kind of relationship, it takes hard work. And Vanessa said it too. She said it's hard work. It's hard work with any relationship, and that's the problem, is that I don't think we take the time to really understand one another at all. Like Yolanda said, I don't think we really do. And this conversation, I think, is just like a gateway. If some men would come in, so we could try to have this dialogue.
Right. I'm hoping that's.
And I think, in addition, another word that we need to inject is compromise, because understanding is one thing. Because even if I understand what you're saying, doesn't even necessarily mean that I'm going to agree. Right. Exactly. So that's where the compromise comes in. Well, it's like, well, I don't 100% agree, but let's talk about it, come to some sort of compromise, some sort of agreement, or I'm going to let you go ahead. You pick your battles, right? I'm going to let you go ahead with that. I don't necessarily agree, but okay, that's what we doing.
Exactly.
But none of that, you make one wrong move and it's like everything is over. Right. Everything is over. So it's interesting, right? I don't want to sidebar or sidetrack, but there's another show that just came out. I don't know if anybody caught it, called The Never Ever Mets. And it's these couples that met and started a relationship on social media, but they've never seen each other face to face. So the premise of the show is that they come together to see if their dynamic is still going to be the same when they get together. And baby, the mess. The mess. And there's one couple in particular that's standing out to me based off of what we were just conversing about, where it's like she can't listen. Because let me just say this, because I know there was even some concern, is this man bashing? You know, some women a mess too.
Yes.
They out here looking for somebody to pay their bills and do this and do that and do the other thing. That ain't it. You know, that ain't it. And if you can't afford to do this, that, and the other thing, then I don't want to be bothered. You may be missing your blessing, boo-boo.
Now that what you said brings me back to what I was going to originally say anyway, about your first topic about how back in the day marriages lasted, and now we're ready to kind of just get out of a relationship at any drop of a pin, or just run when it gets hard. And I think that's twofold. For one, I think that we're trying to have old-fashioned standards in the middle of modern day living. And when I say that, I mean like a woman expects a man to do all the paying, all the providing, and all of the taking care of, but yet at the same token, she want to be a boss lady. She want to do. No, that's not how it is. If we in a relationship together, and maybe I make more money than you do, why would I expect this man to pay all of the bills if I'm making more money? And then men also come to the table with those same old school ideas, and maybe they don't make all of the money, but they still want to be the person who's the provider. And then when they fall short, they lash out and get upset with women, or women want to take over their role. But that's not really true.
That's true. Some Vanessa Gordon said, to make marriage work, each individual must go onward and work on self. Everything begins with you. Yolanda said, we are so focused on an outcome, but it takes work to get to the outcome. And that's the truth. And that's the truth. I think that's why we really need these conversations, because I think everybody is stuck in certain ways. I'm gonna say that.
Right.
And I think part of that focus needs to be on really learning each other, right? Because Yolanda said we focus on the outcome, but it takes work to get to the outcome. It takes work to know how you operate in that relationship. Because part of being an individual is being able to be your authentic self in that relationship. He may be good at some things, me maybe not so much. I may be good at certain things, them not so much. I saw something on social media the other day where I don't know if it was a man or a woman who posted it, but they were like declaring that, women need to, even if they work, they still need to cook, clean, take care of the house. A man should not be coming in and engaging on that. And I mean, of course, the women were absolutely blasting. But I think at the point that I want to make is that learning each other is important because number one, every relationship is different. That's first and foremost. What works in my household may not work in your household. You may not even think about doing that in your household. I told somebody one day, I remember the last time I did laundry. It was like, oh my God, clutching pearls, honey. That works in my house. I'm fine with it. So everybody can't, there's no blueprint is what I'm trying to get to. There's no blueprint. There's no right or wrong way. You have to figure out the dynamic between you and your partner and make it work from there.
But I find one of the issues is, you want to come together and get to know your partner. But a lot of times people come together, they want to get to know their partner, but they don't even know themselves. And that is the key. And a lot of people come into relationships and they looking for somebody to make them happy. Nobody can make you happy if you're a miserable person anyway.
That's it.
Nothing. Right. You got to be happy on your own. You got to know you tolerate You tolerate what you tolerate. You gotta know what you can live with, what you can't live with. You gotta know what would be innocuous in a relationship and what would be a deal breaker. But a lot of people don't know that because they don't do their own self inner work. And when you do your inner work, you can come to somebody and right away you can spot who's for you and who's not for you.
That's right. Vanessa Reed said her and her husband Gary been together for 40 years and they still learning each other. You
And
never stop.
that's another thing. You still learn each other because you grow
Oh,
with
and
it.
let's not forget about the fact that people change.
There we go. We
People
change
change
every day.
because life changes, circumstances change,
Mhm.
dynamics change for whatever reason. So there's that.
Right,
Now you gotta navigate that.
right, right. It's growth, because a lot of your characteristics, once you're a certain age, they pretty much fixed, and your values are fixed. But as circumstances change, you either grow into them or you don't. And a lot of people don't grow, and that could be a big deal breaker in a marriage. Is that one person is growing and another person is stagnant, and that's
Mm,
a big uh, deal
that's
breaker,
the problem.
and that's a problem.
And
Um, Go ahead, Theo.
I was just thinking while you was talking, I was just thinking about how everybody comes in with this idea of what they think the other person is going to be like, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody show up in the beginning, it's all lovey dovey, right? But when you get down to the nitty gritty and finding out who that person really is, that idea of who you thought they were is not there. Their idea of, you want the woman to stay home, not stay home, no, still work, come home and do all the chores, all the cleaning and all of that. That idea is out the window.
Out the window.
You cannot expect that if we both going to work 9 to 5 or whatever hours you're working. You cannot expect that from a woman. Just like a woman can't expect a man to come in, fix everything in the house, pay for everything, and like you said earlier, you making just as much as him or maybe more sometimes. So I
But I'm
think
so I'm playing devil's advocate, right? But that's what our parents did.
Because that was the old set of rules.
that's what our parents did. But let me tell
That
you
was the
something.
old set of rules.
The old set of rules, but like my grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother went to work, my grandpa got hurt. But guess what? Grandma never had to cook when she came home. He cleaned, he took care of grandkids and the kids while she came home because he got hurt. Prior to that, it was reversal.
Right.
She stayed home. He went to work. He paid the bills. But that's what I'm saying. But we don't do that. Like if we both going out the door at the same time,
Right.
what you expect people to do?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we? And I'm asking the ladies. I'm asking everybody. How do we all get along? Because what we don't
We
want,
have
right?
more men on here, though. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, until they come, I'm curious to know the thoughts of the viewers because one, this is not a man bashing session. We already know we're
That's
never going to be able to figure out, the end all be all. This is about sharing. I forget our mission statement, Nikki, but it's like moving forward, being positive with all the
Solution,
challenges that
baby.
we face. How do we get to the space that
right.
we can enter in, function in, live in productive relationship?
Mhm.
Like, what do because we could sit here and talk about what we think all day, but I
Right.
really want to hear from some of the ladies. Oh, Kim Rosier said compromise. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
we mentioned that. That's a big one. That's a big one. Compromise.
Yeah, because with compromise comes, like we talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
being able to understand. And understanding requires that you know a person's limits, you know what to expect from that person. And if you don't open yourself to be vulnerable enough to experience a person enough to understand their point of view, you're never gonna want to bend enough to compromise. So we gotta kind of one listen to each other, because what I'm finding is when you go onto these social media sites and see all of this horrible talk about men and women and their relationships, it's like nobody's willing to compromise. Everybody want to stick to their own corners, and nobody really wants to open. Because I know that people think that modern women don't want to um, what's the word, submit to men, and I challenge that thought, because I'm sure that there are some women who don't, but for the most part, I believe that a woman who has a man who can hold the title of being a real man of the house, whether he paying bills or not, he don't necessarily have to be the breadwinner, but he's able to take care of the business. He's able to make her feel affirmed, validated, loved, and he shows compassion, treats her well, and does not abuse her. She'll submit to that kind of a man
Absolutely.
any day.
Well, you said, didn't you send us a clip one time about, a guy was talking about like why women don't submit, or
you sent that on Instagram.
It was actually a really good clip too, about why women hesitate to submit. But I also believe strongly that a lot of women don't really understand fully what that word submission even means. Right. Because they hear submit and it's like, I ain't gonna bow down to nobody. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. So
let me give me 1 second. Come on over. Hi. My neighbor Tia is here again with us.
Hi. How's everybody? I'm so bad at this.
And I want her to jump on the share thought when something comes to mind. Sit right here so we can get you better in
the camera. Okay.
Wait, no, yes, you might have to bring that chair up.
Okay.
But yes, Tia's here with us, lady. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we have a lot of
Michelle, I was going to tell you that a lot of conversation going on. Go ahead, Michelle.
Kim started it off with compromise. Monique Davis said communication is key. You can't establish expectations without first having a conversation. Exactly. I want to keep that word out there too, conversation, because that's another thing I have thoughts about. Nicole Willis said by constantly being open. And Angela Hansford said communication and comprehension. That part. That's what I wanted to hit on. Because a lot of times we talk, right? Mm-hmm. A conversation, a two-way conversation, 9 times out of 10, you're not listening for comprehension. You listening to form a response.
To respond. Absolutely.
So you're not even processing what the other person is saying. You waiting for them to finish so you could be like, rah, rah, rah. And I'm coming back at you. So that's a big one. Sherry Katrina Dye said patience. Kim Rosier said knowing your roles. How about that? Knowing your roles and being clear about them. Ivory Thomas said treat as individuals. Listen to perspectives and seek common ground. Being open-minded and empathetic goes a long way. Yes. A long way in fostering positive relationships. Vanessa Reed said, in our house, we sit down every Saturday morning to discuss any issues. Oh, wow.
I love that.
This gives us a chance to say what's bothering us without getting mad.
That's good. That's good.
Real good, right?
Yeah, that's real good.
That's real good.
Ooh, that one made me nervous.
That one, they might need to give a workshop on that one.
I know, right?
Open as I am, that's a good one.
That's a really good one. Nicole Frost Brown said, hey ladies, I watched my mom and my dad both go to work. Mom came home, cooked dinner every day. So I kind of did the same thing. When the kids were young, I didn't work. Alan worked and I took care of the kids. Make sure he had a meal every day. But once I started to work, we worked together to do the things I needed to do. to be do regardless, whether it was taking out the garbage, cooking, getting the kids ready, we decided that we were going to do it together.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you gotta, stop getting all these raggedy dudes out here. Get you somebody that's gonna be willing to work with you.
Oh, but see, you know what my thing is, Michelle? I think it's somebody for everybody.
I do too.
It's a raggedy woman that love that raggedy man.
One has nothing to do with the other. I believe there's somebody for everybody. I absolutely believe that.
As raggedy as who is and unintelligent and misinformed as he is,
Yeah.
it's somebody that's perfect for him.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I think the issue is when we settle and when we date somebody who we recognize is not a good fit and we choose to deal with that person opposed to being alone. Because I think as a woman, I can't speak for men, but as a woman, I think what I've noticed about myself and other young women is that there's a fear of being alone that's simultaneous with placing our value on what man is interested in us and how many men want to date us and what they're willing to do for us. I think as women, we internalize a lot of that that feeling of, well, if I have a boyfriend, that makes me better than the person who doesn't, or that makes me as desired as the person on social media who has all these likes and all this attention. And so
really,
I think so. I mean, I can't speak for other women, but even a conversation I recently had with myself is I was in a relationship for 6 years. And throughout that time, there was a lot of, I learned, right, don't let your loneliness make you reconnect with toxic people. Just because you're thirsty doesn't mean you should drink poison. Yeah, Nikki just pointed that out, a post that she saw, and I agree. But when I was in a relationship, I stayed for one because I was comfortable, and for two because I felt like I kind of always wanted that relationship. I always wanted that man per se, and so the fact that I had one, if I was to lose one, I felt internally like I would be a failure. And I think maybe I'm not the only woman who has experienced that. I don't know if you guys have in the comments, but that's something from my own personal experience.
It's funny because I just heard Trevor Noah say today, reels, and it was really striking to hear a man say that, because I think that's the first time I've ever heard a man say that. But he was talking about how successful he was, and that even though he was successful, he was still considered like a bum, I guess, because he was single.
Right.
Like people didn't see him as being,
desirable.
They saw him as being desirable, but because he chose to be single, they felt like his life was still missing something.
Right.
And he was talking about how the plus ones get a bad deal because if I invite you to my wedding and you're married, they're like, come on. But if you're a plus one and you're not married, they're like, oh no, we don't, only if you're married.
Right.
And I've seen that and had that done to me before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So sometimes people value being in a relationship more than the actual relationship.
Right. It doesn't matter if it's serving those people or not. But it's I think it goes back to, we believe in what we see. As long as appearances, it looks good, it must be good. I don't know.
That's a big for us. So let me ask this question. Is it like, and excuse the verbiage, but is it like, well, I'd rather be with anybody than to be by myself?
I think in my experience, it's, to the point that Ma, you made about submitting earlier, and you said as long as somebody is treating you well. I think each woman has her own internal BS meter, and a meter for affection, a meter for gift giving, or whatever it is that she's looking for with her partner. And so I think that as long as somebody is like close enough to that notch of success, you will, or as a woman, I have been like, okay, well, it's not like he's not doing anything, right? It's not like he's not texting me, he's not checking on me. He may not be paying for my bills, but maybe he takes me on a date. So I think in a sense it's more so settling, not for just anything, but it's like, okay, well, if this is the best I'm getting, I'm not going to complain about it, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
don't know if Angela is on here tonight.
She is.
Okay, but I read one of her posts where she was asking women, that were not involved. I forget how she worded it. If she could type it in, that would be perfect. But how did they feel? And I read the comments, and most of the people said at peace. And that was the one thing. I don't know why I didn't write it in here, but when I saw it, as soon as I saw it, I thought that when I go to bed at night, I'm at peace because I don't have to think about the work it takes to be in a relationship.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good or a bad thing.
Right.
But it just is what it is for me.
Right. There's safety in that piece, I think, too. I see somebody commented, I think my father playing a huge role in my upbringing and teaching and showing me how I'm supposed to be treated has also helped me in choosing my mates. I agree with that.
Yeah. Monique Davis.
Yeah, I was going to say, Miss Davis, I agree with that. But I would raise the point, too, just on the opposite side, that I think for me, I have an active father in my life, and he and my mother have been married close to 30 years. And of course, like any couple, they have differences. But for me, I think what influenced me the most was grade school and growing up and seeing how couples interacted that were my age. Because I think it's a little bit difficult when your parents are maybe 20, 30, 40 years older than you, however that age difference is. Like, it's a different generation. So in my experience, I always watched like my older sister, her and her boyfriends, or my cousins. And so I just disagree with that from my perspective. I think my father treated me well, but sometimes I still ended up choosing wrong. So,
But did you ever see your dad or experience your dad in a relationship? Let's say with your mom, were they together? Like, did you experience that?
Yeah, my parents have been married close to 30 years. So my entire life, we lived in the same household. They were in a relationship. They were good. So I guess the point I'm bringing up about my peers is like, let's say I have a friend and her significant other is cheating on her and doing all kinds of toxic things. If I'm in a relationship and maybe that person isn't the most affectionate, in my mind, subconsciously, I'm going to say, well, at least, he's not doing X, Y, and Z like what my friend is experiencing or what my cousin or whoever is experiencing.
So in other words, even though you saw your mother and father in a great loving relationship,
right.
you were still a bum magnet.
Right. Exactly.
So sometimes we do that.
Right.
That's right, because you're looking at your peers more so than you looking at your parents. I mean, I have my nieces and my daughter, and I look at them, and their generation is a lot different. But it's even my generation. Let's be clear. I mean, the way what we choose, right? It all depends on what you're willing to accept.
And let's be clear. I think more and more women are choosing to be single.
Yeah.
So, that was the clip that I think we played it last time.
Hold on, D, you want to take some of the comments because there's a lot.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me go back. We did Monique.
Kim Rosier.
Oh, Angela said she was asking, how's life without a man?
Yes.
That was the question.
Peaceful, Angela.
And Kim Rosier said, how much of our relationship behavior is a mirror of what we saw in our house with our parents? What did we see our mothers accepting from our dads, or men in or coming through the house? That's a good one. And or accepting or not accepting in relationships or marriages. And Terry Cousins said that's a good one, I'm sure. Okay. Bum magnet. They laughing about the bum magnet. Nicole Willis, one's upbringing plays a vital role on how they are capable of showing up in a relationship, man or woman. And I agree with that. I agree with that. But also, again, like, what's your name again?
I'm Tia. Nice to meet
Tia.
everybody.
What Tia was saying, I think that a lot of
We got a man. Derek Young is in the building.
Okay, yay.
Just
hold your hand up. Nicole was saying if you weren't shown love, maybe you don't know how to love another. And I agree with that. But I also agree that you could have been shown all the love you want. I think it's one's personal choice on what they feel they deserve. I don't care how much you see.
Listen, they're asking to be brought on to the video. Can you bring it on from? I can't bring it on from stream yard, but can you bring it on?
Bring what?
Can you see where they're asking to be brought onto the video?
I didn't see that.
You can't see it. I can see it on my Facebook, but I can't do it on my. I need to do it from StreamYard. So maybe I will send a link. I'll send you a link, Robin and Derek. Let me see if I can do it. Let me see if I can figure it out. I'm gonna. You guys keep the conversation going. I'm gonna see if I can send them a link because they want to appear on.
Go ahead, Dion. Angela Hansford added a comment.
Definitely, Michelle. Sadly, I lost my hubby in 2018, and I am still single and on a 1-year celibacy journey. Wow.
Yeah. Because you know what? And listen, nowadays it's scary. It's scary.
Oh, yeah. You could believe that.
Yeah, for sure.
You could believe that.
And to the point you were making earlier, Dion, sorry to cut you off. Earlier, you had said that you don't care how much love somebody has been shown. It's up to them to decide, how much love that they feel they should receive. And I agree with that. I think it comes down to self-esteem. If you're confident in yourself, you're not afraid to be alone for lengthy periods of time. You're not afraid to go on a celibacy journey. You're not afraid to not be liked. You're confident and okay with being distinct. And if that means being single, then that means being single. So I agree with that.
Yeah, there you go. Michelle, Tay made a comment.
Wait, Date said one right before that, I think.
Okay, I didn't see it.
So how do we bridge all, this is good. How do we bridge all the disrespect men bring to Black women into healthy partnerships or even just healthy friendships?
Ooh.
That's a whole show.
Now that's a whole show.
That's a whole show that we need to talk about the disrespect.
That's his mama's job.
Huh?
That's his mama's job.
Yes. How do we, I need to read that again. How do we bridge all the disrespect men bring to Black women into healthy partnerships or even just healthy friendships? That's deep. I need to process that one. Tay Michelle said women staying single or choosing to be in same-sex relationships. Some women feel more secure with another female because of the many toxic relationships they've been in with men. That's a whole.
Okay, so I sent out some links to people who, if they want to come on, they can click onto those links and they'll be here with me on StreamYard and I can add you to the screen.
Vanessa said, I'm blessed to have found a really good guy, but trust me, I'm never afraid to eat alone at the table if needed.
You better not leave my uncles in that. I mean, Vanessa.
Listen, she ain't going nowhere. Gary ain't going nowhere. We know that.
She know I'm joking with her.
I think.
Well, yeah. So how will we address the disrespect? What Dave was saying, like how?
I don't think we should, because I met this guy and he had talked to this woman and she was telling him about her whole lengthy past, all the times that she was physically, verbally, mentally abused, and he like, I'm just trying to go out to eat, and at times I'm not trying to diminish or downplay trauma at all, but I do think that there should always be a progressive mindset. We should always be focused on tomorrow opposed to yesterday, and that's not just for myself. I think that as humans, we all should focus on the future rather than the past.
Well, what I've been seeing a lot on all of these social media sites with all of these different reels is men are really having a real problem with the idea that women would rather be alone than to deal with their BS.
Yeah.
And so you have, just like Trevor Noah has said, that they were saying that he was really not as successful as he knew he was because he was single. They're saying this about women, that what good is a woman if she's not in a relationship, if she's not somehow tied to a man?
Right.
And you really literally have a lot of countries that that support that, in China and in India. Yeah, if you don't have a man in your life, you're pretty much left to be homeless out in the street.
Right.
That's
And
true.
so I think the problem with some of the disrespect is that men feel like women have to be in a relationship with them. So because we have to be with them, they could kind of just treat us any kind of way that they want.
Yeah.
And so now that you have women who are able to just take care of themselves, who are a lot of women, especially Black women. And as a caveat, Black women are the most educated group of women in the country.
Right.
Black women.
Right.
So you have women who are now able to take care of themselves, and so they don't have to lean on a man for anything except, companionship.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen a couple reels whereas women, men, try to make advances at women, and
I want to show that one.
Yeah, you should have showed that one. And because she didn't accept his advances, and she wasn't with it, he literally disrespected her. The one I showed Nikki was he physically picked her up and slammed her to the ground.
Mm.
Like, because she didn't accept his advances. And
that happened recently in New York. Remember the girl in the bodega? The guy was trying to talk to her, and she wasn't receptive to his advances, and he killed her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I didn't hear about that one.
That was right in New York.
Oh, how long ago was that?
Few months.
Wow.
I definitely didn't hear that.
Me either. Okay, Dion.
Yes.
I hope you guys could see it. I'm gonna ready it up. Let me know.
Okay. Oh, here it is. We gotta be a little bigger, Nick. Can we make it bigger or no? Oh my God.
There's a brigade of men who are like, women just won't say no. They won't be honest with their likes or dislikes. If they just said no, we'd move on. This is what happens when women say no. This is what happens when women reject men. This. And then you're going to have the brigade of men who are like, well, maybe she didn't do it right. Maybe she wasn't polite. Maybe that, making excuses for this grown-ass man throwing her. Other than, this is why women don't tell men no, give fake numbers, are afraid to reject men. This is the reason. And then as we watch the men there who did nothing, we're going to get the next brigade of men who are going to be like, why should we put ourselves on the line for women? Look at what they've done for us. Why should we protect them? Look at these feminists. Obviously, they don't need us if they're feminists. While they accept women being attacked for women saying no and rejecting men. And so this is why women lie to get out of situations, because we're afraid we will beat her.
And these are the things that women deal with that make it, difficult sometimes to be in relationship with men, because I don't know. People, I don't want to have this debate. I really don't want to go way off course.
Right.
But in the natural order of things, men are stronger than women.
Right.
That's
and
right.
my belief is that men are here to protect women.
For sure.
And it seems that, especially in the case of Black women, but it happens with all women, but especially in the case of Black women, men are just not ready to put themselves on the line to protect us. I say all the time that Malcolm X saying was so true. The most disrespected woman on the planet is the black woman. And like you said, Michelle, okay, what do we do to fix that? Because that's the hope of conversations like that, is that we move towards fixing those things and
Right.
making sure that, like Dion said, we look for a better future. And I think a lot of it is going to mean that, and we might not see it in our generation, but it's going to be, we got to raise our boys better. We have to raise our boys better. And a lot of men walk around saying, "Oh, you effeminizing men when you give them all of these quality, teach them how to live in their feminine traits." Well, I believe that men should be able to live within both of those traits. You know what I mean? Of course, if you're a masculine man, you're going to let your masculine man dominate. But there are some feminine traits that men should be able to access at all times, like compassion. And we don't teach our kids, our males, to do that. And I think that's a problem. And especially in a relationship, having compassion for another person that's paramount. If you don't have compassion for the people you are in relationship with, anything goes.
Right,
And disrespect is high on the list.
For sure. But to that point, I think we have to also bring up the opposite side, which is women who are disrespectful to men.
Yes, and Michelle, you said it earlier.
Yeah, and
there's some messy ones.
It's some mean ones, and like I have some male friends, and they had said that coming up, a lot of black women that they interacted with, whether it be school or just throughout life, they just weren't very nice to them. Like they only experienced nice black women within their families, but not like outside of that environment. And so to your point, I think both sides need to be raised with love and with core values of just being a good person. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, because there's nasty people out there. There are crazy people out there.
Right.
Yeah. But I
exactly right
what you said.
Yeah. Derek Young said some of us have been protecting black women all our lives.
I agree with that. Some.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I sent you the link if you wanted to come on.
I definitely agree with that.
I agree with that too. Yeah. But I'll be quite honest though. I grew up in a family where, and I think my strength came from my mother, like you said, watching the relationship.
Yeah.
My mother had 5 children and by 3 different men. And what I learned from that about with my mother is my mother didn't put up with no bullshit.
Okay.
Oh, she'll be alone in a minute. She didn't give a shit.
Right.
She was just gonna be about her business, and if it meant she had to be alone, she had to be alone. She did what she had to do. And now with my brothers, I never really felt like they were protective over me. I always felt like I was the one protecting them.
Yeah.
And they're older than me. I remember my oldest brother got into a fight that I jumped in with a hammer. Because you weren't going to beat up on my brother and watch me standing there. But I know I couldn't be the man. So I needed something to help me.
You needed some assistance.
I need some assistance. But that's just, and it could be my, my own thing that I need to work through. Why sometimes I get upset with black men. But I've never felt protected by black men. Very few times in my life that I felt protected by black men.
That's real though.
Yeah.
That's genuine.
Yep.
And do you feel as if your protection over your siblings was innate, or was it learned because of how your mother protected all of you?
I think it was more innate because I'm to protect.
You're protected
over everybody.
Over everybody.
Like if I see some stuff going,
Yeah. You gonna call it out.
Right, Michelle? Don't mess with my friends. Don't mess with my family.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it.
Right. Right.
But I think, and that's where I think we're when they talk about the masculine in us and the feminine in us, because a lot of times we bring that up, right? We bring up the masculine in us because we protecting ourselves,
Right.
because that's what masculine is, right? It's to provide and protect. And a lot of times women are doing that, and what I hear is that we don't know how to put that down, or in the feminine part.
Yeah. We've had to do that out of necessity,
right? So, not like we wanted to just stay there. Nobody wants to just stay there,
right?
But I'll be honest with you though. The times that I did, I wanted to stay there. Like if my husband was alive, child, and my husband was a little itty bitty thing. We were the same height, but don't mess with his wife.
Right, don't play with him.
And that's the only time I felt protected.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have been places where black men will cuss me out over their white girlfriend.
Right.
I've had it done before.
That's real though.
Yeah.
That's real though.
We have a few comments. Michelle, you want to take that one?
So, Monique said, I think respect starts with self. Ivory Thomas said, a woman will stay in her masculine. This is good. A woman will stay in her masculine energy until a man makes her feel safe to be comfortable in her feminine energy.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
100%. You have to have self-respect, and when you first respect yourself, this is Monique Davis. You have to have self-respect. When you first respect yourself, you can command it from others.
That's true.
That is very true.
That's true.
That's true.
That is very true.
There's this book called Love and Marriage, and it's a biblically based book, but basically it that's like the core argument, which is in order for men to feel respected, their wives must feel loved, and that as a woman, will cause you to be like to give your man that quote unquote respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and but on the flip side, it says that women have to feel loved in order to be respected. So it's like a two-way handshake,
right?
Where for women,
like a sickler,
right? Exactly, like it's like a full circle thing.
Nikki, you sent out that clip. That's exactly what the guy was talking about on that one clip that you sent out, where he was saying women act the way they do because of the way we do that.
Exactly.
But if we were treating them better and we were making them feel loved and we were making them feel protected or whatever he said, they would be more inclined to be more submissive. And again, understanding that submissive is not what most people think it is, where it's like, oh, I'm bowing down at your feet. And then I think he goes into a little context with that. But I don't know if you still have that one or not.
I think I do. I have to find it.
But I think you sent one on Instagram too.
Also, men always say, "Oh, women in their mouths and women talk too much." But I've always found this, and this is how I know some of what I'm saying is true. Because, like I said, even when I was married, I was submissive to my husband.
Yeah,
and not in a way like you said, like you think it's just be quiet. No. Because guess what? My husband also knows.
What?
If I'm quiet, something wrong.
Right.
So he allowed me
to be
use exactly.
Yeah.
And he know that when Nikki get quiet, y'all better all watch out.
Right.
So he allowed me
to be you.
And I think that is a part of feminine energy. Women are the talkers.
We are.
We're the talkers.
And nowadays, a lot of men be talking a lot. I'm just saying. Nowadays, a lot nowadays it's like you hear I work in a male dominant field. I'm in IT, and some of the conversations I hear men talking about their exes or their current girlfriends or their whatever, I'm like it's reminiscent of like a bunch of catty schoolgirls because it's very gossipy and it's very Like one time I went to the car wash and these two men were sitting talking about a woman and the way she was dressed and just talking about her like she was a dog. And I think that women are known to be catty and mean and critical of one another. But when men partake in that, it becomes like a sport of who can be, who can be the meanest. And it's not right.
I don't know if it's this one, guys.
Taught generations of women to be
It might be this one.
aware of their surroundings at all time and that it's not safe to be around men.
Oh, that was a good one too.
We have taught women that when you're in public, make sure you look everyone you see in the eye so that they know you see them and you can identify them later. We've taught women to be aware of the clothes they wear. Don't wear something too tight. Somebody gonna get you. Don't wear nothing too loose. Somebody gonna snap. Don't be out by yourself. Somebody gonna. We've taught women all these things, but we don't teach men self-control. A woman should be able to walk down the street booty butt naked without fear of rape, harm, or molestation. And at the same time, we teach men that, oh, that's okay. It's just men being men. That's boys being boys. Man gonna do what a man gonna do. But we don't teach our young men and our young boys self-control. And that's the mindset of a colonizer. I'll control you before I learn to control myself. Which is how we...
But basically, you got
Derek Young said, some men are intimidated by strong, opinionated black women. Sorry, but I'll just say it.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I absolutely think so. I absolutely think so.
But why? To me, that's the part for me that I would want to understand. I know and I believe that to be true. But what I don't understand is why would you be intimidated by a woman unless you living in your ego? And you know my favorite definition for ego is like Dr. Wayne Dyer said, is when you live in your ego, you edge God out.
Ooh, that's good.
And when you edging God out, you're not allowing yourself to be open or vulnerable enough to really understand the woman that you're with.
Yeah.
And I don't understand a man being. How could I be intimidated to a man who has the strength and the power to really end my life if he wanted to?
Right.
So that's why I really get upset with men because you have the power.
Right.
And your power is not here to harass me. Your power is here to protect me.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the problem, right? Because you can't go into these relationships like it's a competition.
Right.
Right.
It's not a competition.
It's not.
I think it's an intellect thing, though. I think as a young woman, it was always instilled in me to not use my body or anything physical to get ahead. Always be smart, be well read, be well versed. And so perhaps that goes back to nature versus nurture, what we teach our young boys opposed to what we teach our young women, which is to have a brain. And if you're going to say something, say it correct, because you don't want to come off like the woman who's just speaking airheadedly and absentmindedly. And so when you're dealing with a man who maybe was raised to be more physical than verbal, maybe he doesn't know how to engage in verbal spar without it resulting in, somebody.
I agree with that.
True.
Yeah.
Michelle, see what Mom Derek responded.
Wait, let me just go back. Robin said he's insecure, talking about those men that don't know how to treat women or black women. Derek said they're not used to it. Being where I'm from, the projects, a lot of women were in charge and their opinions mattered.
Because he's saying strong, opinionated women are intimidating.
Right.
And I think most men like meek women.
Say that again.
I think most men desire meek women.
Yeah, but I don't understand that.
Just somebody they want to, especially if you're confident in where you're going and where your life is headed. You want a woman to join your journey, not necessarily journey together.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Especially if there's an age difference. I've frequently dated older men, and that seems to be like a common theme, which is I'm the person who was already established. I'm the one who's already lived and figured things out. It's a benefit for you to listen to me opposed to me listening to you. Right.
And could that be the biggest problem of why we have problems and why we are at odds? Because men are not willing to join in with women and go together, as opposed to just always wanting to be the leader, always wanting to be have their agenda met and served first.
No. Some of the ladies are saying good night. Good night, ladies. Those that are leaving us, thank you for coming.
Oh, because we way past an hour, I think. Wait.
Yes,
we
Oh, we are. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
ladies. And it is getting late. Is what, 9 o'clock? That's bedtime. So we will sign off, and we'll be back next week with a new topic. I think we beat this one to death. I mean,
And listen, can I just throw out there too, if you guys have some topics that you might want to hear
yes,
some dialogue about, go on our page and send us some ideas.
right. And
That's awesome.
go into the group chat and start chats. You know, we'll always be there to check on it. So, you know, this is your site as well as it is ours.
And share with some men.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you. We had over 30 tonight, so we had a good night and it was a good topic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Enjoy. Have a great night. Great week.
Great week, guys.
Aw. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
It was a really good conversation.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.